excellent read.
The thing about
law, anyhow.
it's only bad if they can't understand what you're saying.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us this Christmas Day. We are very glad you're here, and we hope your participation is meaningful. For more information about our community, please visit our website at www.unitytemple.org and fill out a visitor form, or contact me at tlewis@unitytemple.org. I'm happy to learn more about what you're looking for in a faith community, answer your questions about us, and help you find ways to connect.
Good morning. Welcome. And welcome to all of you hearty souls joining us on this Christmas Day, on this morning of new hope. My name is Rich Picorni, and my pronouns are he, him. I serve on your Board of Trustees at Unity Temple, and I'm delighted to welcome you here this morning. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you for attending. I invite you to email Tina Lewis, tlewis@unitytemple.org, to learn more about us, and she can answer questions you might have. Following the service, we invite you to join our community hour in person if you're here in this sanctuary, so we can have conversation and connect with you. If you're here in person, we suggest wearing a mask. It's optional to protect each of us, especially those who are most vulnerable. At Unity Temple, our values are connection, transformation, justice, and acceptance. We seek to embody these values in our daily lives by welcoming all, inspiring compassion, nurturing wonder, and serving community. Let me highlight inspiring compassion. Compassion means literally to suffer together, or to experience each other's emotion, sympathize, and take action to alleviate suffering. You can learn more about us on our website, www.unitytemple.org. Thank you, and may you find hope, encouragement, and meaning in today's service, and carry these with you throughout your week. And now, please greet each other here in the sanctuary or online in the chat.
I just realized that the chalice lighting words is what didn't make it this time.
Oh, okay. Well, you can make that up. You're good at that.
Morning. Thank you for being here. I invite you to light our chalice along with us. Our chalice lighter today is Rich Picorni. His favorite color is Hawaiian shirts. The chalice lighting words neglected to make it into the order of service, so this isn't a quiz, but if you remember the words, I invite you to join along with us. We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open minds, the loving hearts, and the helping hands. We take care of the planet Earth and each other. Thank you. Our opening words this morning are by Angela Herrera. Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards and the world needs vision. Bring them with you and your joy and your passion. Bring your loving and your courage and your conviction. Bring your need for healing and your power to heal. There is work to do, and you have all that you need to do it right here in this room. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your life's journey, and wherever you are in the world, you are welcome here. Come, let us worship together. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and sing along with Leah Morris to song number 55 in our gray hardback hymnal. The words will also be on the screen.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet call surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of life eternal, gentle darkness, soft and still. Bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
Now, join me in reciting our covenant, please. It's printed in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the all end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Each week we say that love is the doctrine of this congregation, and sharing the joys and sorrows of our lives with one another is one of the ways that we embody that love. It is one of the ways we build the container of community in which we can live our mission with compassion. Before the service each week, there is a binder outside the doors to the sanctuary, and those of you who attend in person are invited to write your joy or sorrow in the binder, either before or after the service. And for those of you who are online, we will review the chat each week and make sure that anything that is written into the chat is then incorporated into the joys and sorrows for the next week. You can still email your joys and sorrows to us at joysandsorrows@unitytemple.org. And whether you are sharing it in a binder or online, please make sure to include your name. These are the joys and sorrows shared for today. Lynn Hensel shares that her mother, Donna Hensel, passed away this past Saturday at age of 95. She died peacefully, surrounded by those who loved her. Lynn says that her mother was a scientist, feminist, Unitarian Universalist, art docent, ardent Democrat, and world traveler, as well as a remarkable role model for her 2 girls. May her name forever be a blessing. Online last week, Laura Navarro shared that her good friend Tyrone Peter passed away recently from cancer. He grew up in Oak Park. He was only 47 years old. I invite anyone who has a joy or a sorrow on their minds or in their hearts to come forward and drop a stone into the bowl of water at the table up in front of the pulpit. As you come forward, form lines. I'm not too concerned about there being a rush today, but I hope you can manage yourself. As people are coming forward, we will be playing Spirit of Life, sung by the All Souls Unitarian Church Choir in Washington, D.C. They begin by singing it in Spanish. I invite you to sing it in Spanish if you know it, and if not, then please join through the second time in English with the words printed in your order of service. Prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love. This is a complicated day for many of us. A day that is supposed to be full of joy, that instead is maybe tinged with more than its fair share of sorrow. Today we grieve the loss of friends and loved ones, the hopes that did not come to pass, the dreams that were not realized. And at the same time, even in the sorrow, we find moments of hope and joy. We celebrate this community, seeing friends, familiar faces, meeting new friends. Spirit of life, be with us as we hold all these spoken and silent joys and sorrows in our hearts. Amen.
The reading is called Blessing for the Dailiness of Grief by Jan Richardson. Sorry I am to say it, but it is here. Most likely you will know the rending and most deeply. It will take your breath away, how the grieving waits for you in the most ordinary moments. It will wake with your waking. It will sit itself down with you at the table, inhabiting the precise shape of the emptiness across from you. It will walk down the street with you in the form of no hand reaching out to take yours. It will stand alongside you in every conversation, nearly unbearable in its silence that fairly screams. It will brush its teeth with you at night and climb into bed with you when finally you let go of this day. Even as it goes, always with you, it will still manage to startle you with its presence, causing you to weep when you enter the empty kitchen in the morning, when you spread fresh sheets on the bed you shared, when you walk out through the door alone and pass back through it likewise. It is here you will know it best, in the moments that made up the rhythm of your days, that fashioned the litany of your life, the togethering you will never know in the same way again. But I will tell you, it is here too that your solace lies. It will wait for you in those same moments that stun you with their sorrow. I cannot tell you how, but it will not cease to carry you in the cadence that has forever altered, but whose echo will persist with a stubbornness that will surprise you, bearing you along, breathing with you still, through the terrible and exquisite ordinary days.
We are surrounded right now by our friends, our community, the media, telling us that this is the season of joy, of hope, of love. And that isn't always the case. For some of us, this time of year is difficult. Some of us have a missing loved one at the table, for we have lost beloveds this year, whether to death or to estrangement. For some of us, the pressure to live up to expectations for this time of year makes it difficult, if not impossible, to enjoy ourselves. For others of us, the economic challenges can make us feel more blue than jolly, and others of us have been holding on to grief and sorrow at this time of year for many years. Whether this is the first season that has been difficult for you or the 50th, it can be helpful and supportive to come together with others who feel similarly, to find a place that can hold our grief and our pain. There is precedent for this sort of service. In the Hebrew scriptures, in the book of Psalms, the book of Psalms is an intricately designed collection of 150 poems that recount Israel's history and God's covenant with them. The book of Psalms, written over a span of 1,000 years, but mostly between 1010 and 930 BC. And they poetically tell the entire biblical story up until the time that the Psalms were written. And to remind us that the authors were human, the most common type of poem or psalm is the complaint, also called a lament. There are 42 individual laments in the Psalms and 16 community laments. And most of them were written generically. They may complain about a king, for example, but they don't name the specific king so that readers throughout history are able to project their own circumstances into the lament and into the sorrow. The Psalms of Lament are poetic hymns meant to be sung to God. They deal with issues that were and still are central to the life of faith for individual believers and for the whole community of faith. The lament psalms express intense emotions, real human struggles, and the anguish of heart experienced by the people of Israel as they lived out their faith individually and corporately. The centrality of lament demonstrates that people have been bringing their pain and their sorrow into their faith communities for eons. This is not new. Sometimes, often perhaps, we need permission to feel these supposedly negative, we label them as negative feelings, especially this time of year when everything around us tells us that we should be jolly and happy. The laments tell us that the holy, the divine, is not afraid of our pain, and indeed welcomes it. Buddhism, too, has a place for our pain, recognizing that accepting our feelings and naming them has power, that accepting them as a part of us, not by trying to change them, is a practice of radical acceptance. American Buddhist author Tara Brach has designed a practice she calls RAIN that can help us more fully feel those difficult emotions. And RAIN stands for recognize, allow, investigate, and nourish. She says, first, we recognize what is happening, the emotion that you're experiencing, and then allow the experience to be there, just as it is. Then investigate with interest and care, ask questions, and be curious. And finally, nurture yourself with self-compassion. She says that part of the allowing phase is to accept that the feelings are there. She says during this part, she often whispers to herself, this too belongs. This feeling is not an intruder that shouldn't be here. This too belongs. In a Blue Christmas service 10 years ago, my colleague, the Unitarian Universalist minister Joshua Pollack, said, there's really only one message I want to bring to you this morning, and that is, very simply, not everyone, every year, can enter fully into the joy, merriment, and hopefulness of the holiday season. For some, the bright lights, the season's greetings, the festive music, the Christmas trees, the message of peace and goodwill, all of it clashes with their internal state, clashes with recent painful experiences, clashes with difficult childhood memories of the holidays. For some, there is dissonance. We're dreaming of a white Christmas, and yet everything's gone blue. And to that wisdom, let me add, and that's okay. It is okay that everything has gone blue. Blue belongs. Blue belongs along with the gold and the silver, the red and the green. This service isn't meant to fix it, but to let you know that there is space here for your grief, for your sorrow, that it, like you, belongs. Indeed, it doesn't just belong. It is in this grief, in this sorrow that we can find solace. As the poet Jan Richardson reminded us, grief is daily and can find us anywhere at any time. And, she says, here's the secret. That's where solace lives too. And the grace. That's where love still waits for us every moment, every day. In part, love waits for us in communities like this one, places where we can bring our grief, bring our sorrows, bring our frustrations. Helen Keller poignantly wrote that when it seems our sorrow is too great to be borne, let us think of the family of the heavy-hearted into which our grief has given us entrance. And inevitably, we will feel about us their arms, their sympathy, their understanding. Perhaps you are part of that family of the heavy-hearted, and together we might comfort one another and find solace in each other's presence. And so I invite us now into a time of allowing ourselves to feel what it is we need to feel. Our musical meditation this morning is a combination of the songs Carol of the Bells and What Child Is This? What I find particularly poignant is that for both of these tunes, things are not what they seem to be on the surface. While we know them as popular Christmas carols, they both actually come from somewhere else. Carol of the Bells was originally a Ukrainian folk song that tells the story of a swallow flying into a household to sing of the wealth that will come the following spring. It is a song of hope. And What Child Is This? Has the old, old tune of Greensleeves, a song about a lost love. Loss and hope, hope and loss, always woven together. As the music is playing, if you would like, I invite you to go to the chalice or the table that's in the back of the sanctuary here and light a candle to represent your grief, your sorrow, or your sadness this morning. Before we begin our litany of comfort this morning, would somebody sitting near the table blow out the taper candles so that they don't drip wax and set anything on fire? Thank you. Let us join now together in a litany of comfort. When you hear me say the words, "This season brings forth many feelings," I invite you to respond with the words printed in your order of service. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. And when the litany is complete, we will sit together in silence for what may feel like a long time, but will probably only be a minute or two. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart not all is joyful. There is grief with the loss of relationships, those we love no longer with us because of death, those we have loved who are estranged from us, those we love yet experience a diminishment of intimacy. There is grief with the loss and change of relationship. Grief, bittersweet, for it is a consequence of the presence of love. This season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our hearts not all is joyful. There may be pain in our bodies, physical pain as the natural outcome of aging, physical pain that presents itself in illness, pain in the body that forces us to change and imposes limitations. Pain, bittersweet, for physical experience includes both pain and pleasure. And so this season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our hearts not all is joyful. There may be anger and regret with the memories we hold, anger with past experiences of hurt or abuse, regret for our own actions that may have caused hurt to others, anger that life has not turned out as we imagined, regret for that which we might have said or done. Anger and regret, bittersweet in presenting the possibilities for healing and forgiveness. And so this season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our hearts not all is joyful. There may be uncertainty that accompanies transition and change, uncertainty of what the future may bring with changes, uncertainty of direction or purpose after retirement or change of vocation, uncertainty when changing residence by choice or necessity. Uncertainty, bittersweet for change, a constant in life, lets us know we are alive and change along with it. And so this season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our hearts not all is joyful. There may be a sense of hopelessness in the face of so much violence and suffering, hopelessness with attempts to heal our aching world and ourselves, hopelessness in witnessing what we have not managed to accomplish. Hopelessness, bittersweet for its longing, reminds us of our capacity for hope and the human spirit's tenacity and courage that rest deep within each of us. And so this season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our hearts not all is joyful. There is loneliness. Loneliness when we find ourselves alone after being long partnered. Loneliness when we are separated from loved ones. Loneliness when we move to a new community and struggle to find our way. Loneliness that never seems filled even with good company. Loneliness that is an ever-present aching in the heart. Loneliness, bittersweet, for it is only felt when we have known connectedness. And so this season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our hearts not all is joyful. We know grief and pain. We know anger and regret. We know hopelessness and loneliness. We know all these feelings. We name them. We live them, for such is the human experience. That love presents us with the possibility of being hurt, with the grief of loss. The connection holds the potential for loneliness and uncertainty. That forgiveness can begin to heal anger and regret. That being alive is a courageous act in which we engage all of our emotions. And so this season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. Let us sit in silence.
Hi, I'm Eric Johnson, Chief Development Officer at Housing Forward. Each week, Unity Temple gives the Sunday offering to an organization that aligns with your values, and this week the offering supports Housing Forward, a local organization that has one bold vision: ending homelessness. Each year, we assist nearly 2,500 individuals and families who are in the midst of homelessness and housing insecurity. We offer a compassionate approach to preventing homelessness whenever possible, responding to people who are experiencing the crisis of being homeless and creating long-term stability through housing. Our impact is possible because of the generous support we receive from the community each year, and we are honored that Unity Temple has been a long-standing friend and partner of Housing Forward. Today, you may donate by placing cash or checks in the collection baskets that are being passed. If you're sitting in the back row of your section, you may also find a basket under the pew. Please pass the baskets, and someone will be at the back of the main floor of the sanctuary to collect them. You may give by sending a check to Unity Temple office with Housing Forward on the memo line, or you can give by following the instructions that are on your screen. Thank you from Housing Forward for your support. May what you give bring you joy, and happy holidays from Housing Forward.
I invite us now to join with the choir of the UU Congregation of Phoenix, Arizona in song number 1002. That's in the teal softback hymnal, and the song is Comfort Me. After the verse, Dance With Me, there's an instrumental verse in which they dance. You will see them dancing on the screen. And so I invite you to join in if you feel so inclined. So please rise in body or in spirit.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me,
You may be seated. Our closing words are by Carrie Kopnick. The sound of rain, not cheerful songs. A quiet rocking chair, not traditions of the season. The early sunset, not dancing lights. Loss, tender heart, hollow soul, heavy days. Grief is welcome. A sacred part of the mourning, of the bereft, of the weeping. Amidst the celebrating, this too belongs. This too is holy. It binds us to our ancestors, the earth, the stars. Yet still, a steaming mug of tea warms the belly. The dog wags its tail and the cat purrs. There are laughter and tears, sometimes both beside the joy. This, too, belongs. Sharing human suffering is connection. Hearts like stones are held by all that is grief and light intertwined. This, too, belongs. And now please join me in the words of our chalice extinguishing. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again.
Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone? Will you remember and bring me sprigs of rosemary? Be my sanctuary till I can carry on, carry on. Carry on. This one knocked me to the ground. This one dropped me to my knees. I should have seen it coming, but it surprised me. Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone? Will you remember and bring me sprigs of rosemary? Be my sanctuary till I can carry on, carry on, carry on. In a state of true believers, on streets called us and them, it's gonna take some time till the world feels safe again. Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone? Will you remember and bring me sprigs of rosemary? Be my sanctuary till I can carry on, carry on, carry on. You can rest here in Brown Chapel or with a circle of friends, a quiet grove of trees or between two bookends. Will you be my refuge, my haven in the storm? Will you keep the embers warm when my fire's all but gone? Will you remember Bring me sprigs of rosemary, be my sanctuary till I can carry on, carry on, carry on, carry on.